The rise and fall of the Phantom Icon. It appeared suddenly, with almost no warning, a sleek, mysterious machine that looked more like a rumor than a production car. Whispers spread to the industry before the first prototype ever touched the road. Some called it a miracle, others called it vapor. But one thing was certain, this car was unlike anything anyone had seen. Its silhouette became an obsession. Grainy photos leaked online, just enough to spark fascination, never enough to reveal the truth. People speculated about hidden technologies, experimental engines, impossible performance figures. And because no one could prove anything, the legend only grew. A phantom icon was taking shape, built on secrecy, expectation, and the strange power of imagination. To understand its rise, we must return to the moment when the company behind it was desperate for a breakthrough. They were struggling. Market share was shrinking. Investors were restless. Competitors were embracing new powertrains, new materials, new visions for future. The company needed a miracle, and they pinned their hopes on a single radical idea. Create a machine so advanced, so alluring, that it would redefine their brand in one stroke. But that meant risk, and risk meant secrecy. The project was hidden deep inside a restricted development wing. Only a handful of engineers had access. They worked in silence, bound by non-disclosure agreements and pressure so intense it felt like gravity. Every decision, every bolt, every curve, every number was treated like classified information. Even other departments were locked out. Inside those walls, a vision began to form. A lightweight chassis built from experimental alloys. An engine platform blending technologies competitors hadn't yet considered. Aerodynamics shaped through hours of private simulations. A design language that made the car look as though it had slipped through a crack in time. But the secrecy that protected the project also fed the myths surrounding it. Outside the walls, rumors exploded. Enthusiasts created mock-ups based on silhouette sightings. Journalists wrote articles filled with speculation and contradiction. Rival companies hired investigators to uncover any scrap of truth. The machine became an icon long before its existence was confirmed. Yet deep inside the development wing, reality told a different story. The car was far from ready. Systems failed unexpectedly. Structural tests revealed weaknesses hidden beneath the beautiful exterior. The engine, though powerful, struggled to handle the extreme thermal loads required to meet the marketing team's promises. Every breakthrough revealed another flaw. Every solved problem created a new one. But the outside world didn't know any of this. They saw perfection, potential, prophecy, and that gap, the space between myth and truth, was where the Phantom Icon was born. The pressure to deliver became unbearable. The engineers sensed a dangerous imbalance forming. The world expected a miracle, but the machine wasn't a miracle yet. It was a fragile dream teetering between brilliance and collapse. And the deeper the myth grew, the closer the car came to breaking. Inside the secret development wing, the pressure tightened like a vice. Engineers worked through nights lit by flickering monitors, chasing stability in systems that behaved more like experiments than production components. The chassis flexed in ways no simulation had predicted. The new alloy, light, strong, and breathtaking on paper, revealed microscopic fatigue patterns under sustained loads. The engine, a hybrid of old principles and radical innovation, vibrated with a faint, unsettling resonance at peak output. Yet none of these struggles could escape the growing myth outside. Marketing teams, desperate to fuel the anticipation, published cryptic teasers that implied impossible performance. Investors demanded quarterly updates, numbers, promises, projections, forcing leadership to exaggerate progress. The world believed the Phantom Icon would shatter records. The engineers knew it was still fighting to stay in one piece. Leaks made the situation worse. Anonymous insiders posted blurry images of test rigs and partial body shells. The internet erupted with theories. Active aerodynamics that adjusted at the molecular level, engines derived from aerospace technology, structural materials reverse engineered from military prototypes. None of it was true, but the truth no longer mattered. The myth had legs of its own. Inside the workshop, every rumor felt like a countdown. The first full-scale test exposed the magnitude of the problem. At moderate speeds, The car moved with elegance. Acceleration was crisp, transition smooth. But once pushed toward the performance, figures whispered online, chaos surfaced. Heat spiked unpredictably. Aerodynamic loads created instability near the rear quarter. Software systems miscommunicated, triggering fail-safe modes at critical moments. The test driver returned pale, shaken, not because the car was weak, but because it was unpredictable. The team documented every failure carefully, but leadership dismissed much of the data. It just needs refinement, they insisted. Polish. Tuning. Acceleration must meet the projections. Handling must exceed expectations. The world is watching. The engineers knew the truth. Expectations had outrun reality. The Phantom Icon wasn't behind schedule. It was trapped in a fantasy the company had no hope of delivering. As external pressure mounted, internal fractures deepened. Some team members advocated scaling back the targets, releasing a limited version that aligned with what the car could realistically achieve. Others argued that anything less than the myth would destroy the company's reputation. Meetings devolved into shouting matches. HR quietly began preparing for departures. Morale collapsed. But the real blow came during a high-stress endurance test conducted under strict secrecy. The car launched down the track with renewed optimism, new reinforcements, updated software, revised cooling paths. For a few bright minutes, it felt as if the dream might finally align with reality. Then, at maximum load, a violent shudder rippled through the chassis. The front aero assembly destabilized, sending turbulence into the underbody. The car snapped sideways. Only exceptional driving prevented a catastrophe. Even so, the prototype suffered extensive internal damage when it skidded to a halt. The test data was horrifying. The instability wasn't caused by a singular flaw. It was systemic. The design relied on principles that were incompatible at scale. Components that worked beautifully in isolation refused to cooperate when combined. The dream was brilliant, but the integration was impossible within the constraints of production. The engineers stood over the damaged prototype in stunned silence. They knew what it meant. The Phantom Icon wasn't just struggling. It was collapsing. But the world still believed the miracle was coming. Investors waited. Fans fantasized. Leaks fueled speculation. The myth was unstoppable. And the truth, locked behind NDA-secured doors, was becoming impossible to hide. The fall began with whispers, quiet doubts circulating among executives who had once championed the Phantom Icon as the company's salvation. The latest crash data was impossible to ignore. Stability issues weren't isolated defects. They were symptoms of a deeper incompatibility woven into the car's DNA. What looked revolutionary on the outside was a battlefield of conflicting systems within. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings stretched late into the night. Engineering leads presented the truth with heavy voices. The required redesigns would take years, not months. Costs would triple. Suppliers would need entirely new processes. And even with all that, success wasn't guaranteed. The room fell into a tense silence, broken only by the sound of executives flipping through grim technical reports. But outside the walls of the company, the myth continued to grow. Online forums buzzed with theories about secret test results. Influencers leaked mock performance specs that dwarfed anything the car could possibly achieve. Collectors placed deposits before the official announcement. Rival brands braced for disruption. The Phantom Icon had become a cultural event, an expectation so large it cast a shadow over everything the company did. And leadership, terrified of disappointing the world, refused to face reality. They ordered the engineering team to prepare a controlled demonstration for investors. Not a full test, just enough motion to maintain belief, enough noise to buy time. The engineers objected, warning that even a limited showcase carried risks. But they were overruled. The myth had become too valuable to challenge publicly. The demonstration was staged at a private track. Security was tight, cameras carefully positioned. Investors arrived expecting a glimpse of the future. The engineers watched in anxious silence as the prototype, hastily repaired, rolled toward the start line. They knew the weaknesses were still there, waiting beneath the polished exterior. The first pass was slow, cautious, artificially restrained. Investors clapped politely. Executives forced smiles. Then someone requested a higher speed run, just a taste of its capability. Cameras adjusted. Reporters leaned forward. The engineers exchanged looks of dread. The car accelerated cleanly at first. Smooth, controlled. Hope flickered for a moment. Then the familiar instability returned. A ripple in the aero balance. A vibration in the chassis. The driver felt it instantly, the same warning sign that had preceded the previous near crash. He lifted off the throttle, but momentum carried the instability forward. The car lurched sideways, tires screaming as it fought for grip. The driver wrestled the wheel, barely keeping the machine from spinning. It slowed to a shaky stop, smoke rising from the rear assembly. The track went silent. Investors whispered in confusion. Executives scrambled for explanations. Engineers raced toward the car, already knowing what they would find. The phantom icon had once again revealed the truth the company refused to acknowledge. It wasn't ready. It couldn't be ready. Not without becoming something fundamentally different. News of the incident leaked within hours. Anonymous sources confirmed serious stability issues. Financial analysts issued warnings. Stock prices dipped. Influencers turned the event into speculation fuel. The myth that had once elevated the phantom icon now began consuming it. Inside the company, panic set in. Some executives blamed the engineers. Some blamed unrealistic marketing. Some blamed the secrecy that prevented collaboration. But blame didn't matter anymore. The damage was done. The phantom icon's rise had been built on imagination. Its fall would be built on reality. And the world was beginning to see the cracks in a legend that had grown too large a machine beneath it. The final reckoning was approaching, a decision that would determine whether the phantom icon would be quietly buried, publicly canceled, or forced into a final attempt to save a dream that was already slipping through the company's fingers. The reckoning came in a boardroom filled with tension, so sharp it felt like a physical weight pressing against the walls. Executives faced charts that painted a brutal picture: spiraling costs, broken timelines, investor unrest, and a reputation ballooning beyond anything the car could live up to. The phantom icon, once hailed as the company's rebirth, had become its greatest liability. The chief engineer stood at the center of the storm, exhausted, carrying the burden of impossible expectations. He explained that the core design, however brilliant, was fundamentally incompatible with performance targets set by marketing. The experimental alloy could not withstand the aerodynamic loads demanded of it. The hybrid powertrain produced heat profiles that pushed the limits of structural integrity. The aerodynamic concept worked in theory, but collapsed under real-world turbulence. It wasn't failure, it was physics. Still, some executives clung to the myth. They urged one final push, arguing that abandoning the project would destroy the company's image. They insisted that the world needed the miracle they had promised. They had built the legend, and now the legend held them hostage. But the engineers had reached their breaking point. They refused to risk more drivers, more prototypes, more truth buried beneath marketing slogans. Then the CEO asked a question no one wanted to face. If we release this car in any form, can we guarantee safety? The silence that followed was the longest in the company's history. And that silence was the answer. The project was canceled. Not paused, not revised. Canceled. The phantom icon would never enter production. The myth that once captivated the world dissolved in a single announcement, a short, carefully worded statement citing strategic realignment and technology reassessment. But people saw through it. Headlines exploded. Forums erupted in anger and disbelief. Analysts predicted collapse. The car community mourned the death of a dream they never truly understood. Inside the company, the final days of the project felt like a funeral. Engineers filed into the restricted wing one last time. They powered down test rigs, archived data, covered the prototype with a plain white sheet. Some walked away in silence. Others cried. A few placed their hands on the bodywork, as if saying goodbye to a living thing. The phantom icon had consumed years of their lives, demanded sacrifices that would never be recognized, and left behind a legacy as haunting as it was beautiful. Yet despite its fate, the story didn't end in failure. because buried within its troubled chassis were breakthroughs that would outlive the myth, cooling innovations that reshaped future hybrid designs, structural concepts that inspired safer, lighter frames, aerodynamic insights that filtered quietly into production cars years later. Even the powertrain, a hybrid of competing technologies, became a blueprint for systems that now define an entire segment of the market. The Phantom Icon did not enter showrooms. It did not claim records. It did not fulfill the dreams that surrounded it, but it changed the industry anyway. It proved that ambition can outrun reality and still leave a mark. It revealed the danger of myths built faster than machines. It showed that progress is rarely linear, rarely perfect. And in the quiet corners of automotive history, the Phantom Icon remains a symbol, not a failure, but of humanity's eternal struggle to build something extraordinary in a world bound by limits. Subscribe to join the journey.